We're back with day 10 of the Diddy trial. They gave the jury a long breakdown. Like they gave them a long rest for the weekend, for the holiday, Memorial Day, and had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So everybody's stuffed. They full. They should be ready to go, right? There shouldn't be any problems whatsoever. Definitely hit the like button. We appreciate it. We absolutely do. Yes. I didn't jump right into it right away because I wanted you guys to get here, get acclimated to what's going on. Oh, it's 100%. No, Capricorn Clark was probably the most, in my estimates, is going to be the most damaging person to take the stand because she actually was connected to the business side of Sean Diddy Combs, and everyone knew who. Well, if you were around, you knew that he did put hands on her, which caused her to leave in untimely fashion. But we never knew any details about it. But she was close to Cassie, and I thought she would definitely be on this stand. I've spoken on this before. So, 100%, I was thinking this would be the fallout of the situation. Now, as we take a look at the trial and the breakdown of everything that's happening in this trial, the judge comes in. Everybody know that it's going to be there are going to be some very sensitive topics discussed. So they had full testimony and rulings of Capricorn Clark and other people, with Kid Cudi's car being burned as the main focal point of what they wanted to focus on, because she could corroborate his story, which would put Diddy into position of the arson, right? So, to explain to everyone else how we got here, in other words. Now, going right into this, they had Judge Samaritan, right? We go off the transcripts. It's not blah, blah, blah of the case. We go off the evidence, what is actually being said in the trial. So it's not CNN, it's not Fox News, not TMZ, it's not Law and Crime. We're going off of the evidence that is being delivered to being delivered in the trial. Now, the judge comes in and said, I see you guys have burned the midnight oil over the weekend. What about the DNA questions? So the investigator, Jimenez, says knowledge of his is extremely limited. That's what the government is saying. The judge said, but didn't he ask the serologist if there's any DNA test was done? She was like, but not the results, which doesn't make any sense. So the government says, yes, there was a partial profile from the glass bottle in the car, but investigators, Jimenez, does not know what that means. But then it just said, you don't object to the report coming in, only what Diddy's defense will ask. And she said, we do object to the report coming in. So there's a police report, in case you guys don't know, because they said it. It had a female's DNA. Now, what had female DNA? the actual Molotov cocktail bomb that was thrown into the car to start the fire, there was a print on there, right? And they got DNA off that bottle, and it was a female's DNA, not a male's. So this is what this conversation is about between the judge and the investigator and the judge and the government, right? So this is before the jury's even brought in. They're talking about this evidence that the defense wants to put in. So Diddy's defense says he got the results back. If the DNA comes back with Sean Diddy Combs' DNA, then this investigation would have gone in a different direction. But it was consistent with a female contributor. So it is not whether the results, the judge says, so it's not whether the results was accurate, only the impact. He said, I'm going to overrule the objection, but I'll hear you at sidebar at the direct. And then the government said, this DNA issue can mislead the jury. The defense said, we could prove this up through the serologist. This is fair game for the witness. For now, the objection is overruled. So Diddy team won, and they can include the police report with the DNA. Why would the government not want the DNA evidence mentioned? You're talking about a firebomb to a man's car. If they got a fingerprint off the bottle and it does not match Diddy, you don't think that's important to the case? Of course it is. No, Law and Crime, what they do is like what other people do. CNN, they take context of certain transcripts. Of all the transcripts, they tell you some of it and they omit everything else. They just take the ones out of the topic that they want to talk about. We give you all of it. Thanks to Inner City Press, who's in that courtroom doing an amazing job and needs to be commended, as he does in other court cases as well. Well, that's great if they did mention it. I'm just saying. I give you the whole thing. I'm not going to tease the tails it. Now, that was very important. He's right. If it would have came back with Diddy's DNA, this investigation would have definitely shot to the ceiling, right? So they had the summary charts. When are they going to be offered? So the government is talking about some early next week, along with other second to last witnesses before we rest our case. And they was like, bringing in the bank and phone records in Texas is okay, but some text threads are already in. And the summary charts will save us some time, as they did in the Bobby Menendez case and all that stuff. So they said, look, we'll give us some summary notes that'll help us get through this case quicker. And they said, well, that leads us with the objection to Dr. Hughes. They say, is the U.S. going to respond? They said, yes. Submit your response by tomorrow. Now, the objection of Dr. Hughes is her whole testimony, as I told you. They issued a docket Saturday night about Dr. Hughes. Moved to exclude her testimony as improper, and well, yeah, you want to see that gone. You don't want that docket on there. So they got to sit a response by tomorrow, because her testimony should be eliminated completely. Because One, she's never ever sat with Cassie. She's just basically misleading the jury. She's never ever dealt with anything except for domestic violence cases, and she's just theorizing what she thinks and added nothing to this trial. Her whole testimony should be wiped. Now they start talking about Kid Cudi's testimony, which seemed more like an opinion. How is it admissible given the requirements of Rule 701? The government said, we'll like to look at the cases submitted by the defendant, then put it in a letter. He said, okay, bring it to the jury. So the jury comes in, like, okay, bring it in the jury then. So they're going to try to say, where's it relevant? Because everything Kid Cudi was giving was basically an opinion. As I told you before, hearsay, right? So the government brings Capricorn Clark to the stand. She says she was born in San Francisco, moved to LA, worked with Def Jam, then Death Row Records with Suge Knight, which she called a late 90s gangster rap label. This is how Suge Knight knew about what happened with Capricorn Clark, in case you didn't know. But they said, what's your relationship with Suge Knight? They said, he is the father of my friend's child. They said, didn't you work with Sean Combs? Yes. He is over there in the blue sweater. I worked with him from 2004 to 2012. Where you were kidnapped? Yes. When did you first meet Sean Combs? When I moved to New York City in 2002. We were super platonic friends. A headhunter said I should work for him as a personal assistant. I did until she said, I did until 2006. They said, your duties, Capricorn Clark, shadow him from wake up. Then what? Head of women's for Sean John. They said, how long? A year. Global brand director for Sean Combs. Names and likeness, due diligence to grow the brand. Then I was terminated. Into 2016 for Cassandra Ventura. Did you work in this building? Yes, we moved there in 2005. Your first day, where did you, Mr. Combs, take you? Central Park, after dark, along with Uncle Paulie. He looked like a linebacker. They said, is this a photo? Does this photo look like him? She says, no, that doesn't have the blackout shades he wore all the time. They said, what did Mr. Combs tell you in the park? That since I worked for Suge Knight, if anything happened, he might have to kill me. They was like, objection. They was like, overruled, proceed. The judge wants, I told you, the judge is loving all this. Overruled, proceed. How did you take it? Seriously. It has gravitas. How did you react? I said, I didn't have anything to do with that stuff. Objection. They was like, sustained. Miss Steiner, like, please get to the viewpoint. What was Paulie's role? All aspects of Mr. Combs' movement to keep him safe. There were also D-Rock, Roger Bonds, and Ruben. Who's D-Rock? A good friend of Biggie Smalls. Running back type body. Did you ever observe Mr. Combs with a gun? Yes, in my home. And did he talk about it? Mr. Combs, told Chris Lighty he had a gun. He had a problem with 50 Cent. Were you ever accused of stealing? Yes, jewelry. It had been given to me. It was a loan. It went missing? Yes. What did you do? From Teterboro, I called 1440 and told them to lock it down. What did Uncle Polly do? He questioned me 3 hours. You went home to Queens, yes, with Uncle Polly. He searched my house. Where did Uncle Polly take you? To 1710 Broadway. It was dissipated. It was being fixed up. But I didn't know that Uncle Polly took me to the sixth floor. The door was locked behind us. There was a 6 foot folding table with a heavy set man. Can you describe him? 4 or 5, two linebackers. He was chain smoking. Did Uncle Polly stay? No, he came back. What did the heavy set man say? I was there to take a lie detector test. What did he say would happen if you failed the test? That they would throw me in the East River. Objection. Can we have a sidebar? So Diddy team wanted to sidebar this thing and was like, how much of this garbage we gonna listen to? So they come up there and they said, okay, Ms. Steiner, proceed. They was like, well, what was his demeanor? Very serious. I was terrified. Did you want to be taking the test? No, I was afraid. How was the test? Wires on you, then they question you. Did I steal? Did he tell you the results? He said to calm down that he couldn't get a good reading and he might have to throw me into the East River. Anyone else in the building? Not to my knowledge. Could you leave? No. Paul said no. What did Paul say at the end? That he'll come back in the next day to figure this out. We started again. He said, side note, will the defense call any Homeland Security agent to the stand and ask about the authorized wireless raid at Diddy's house? The one I talked about yesterday, they can recall people back to the stand if they want to go over certain things. They got to go through all the witnesses first. Then they could recall some people back. So they just want to get through all the testimony first. But yes, they'll probably recall some people back, as they should. Now, let's proceed with the testimony, full testimony layout. So they said, what did Paulie say at the end? Did he come back the next day to figure out what was going on? They said again, the lie detector test in the same location all day. Were you free to leave? No. How long did this go on? 5 days. Did you tell anyone where you were? No, I was just trying to survive it. I worked under an NDA. Objection, sustain. Jury should discard the last answer. So they said, what was you doing? Shadowing Mr. Combs. What happened after 5 days? That I could return to work, that Mr. Combs would see me next week. Did Mr. Combs discuss it with you? No. Why did you continue to work with Mr. Combs? If I left, then they would think I stole something. What were your days like? From his townhouse on 74th Street and Park in the morning to Daddy's house studio at night? How much sleep did you get? On a good day, 4 hours. On a bad day, 2 hours. I got a stress condition. I was paid $55K. Did you get paid overtime? No. I spoke to the head of HR. She said I was owed $80,000. How did Mr. Combs respond? He ripped up the paper. Would Mr. Combs stay at motels and hotels, rather? Yes. With whom? Kim Porter, once a week. What name would he book the room under? Frank Black or Frank White? And the girlfriends, Jackie Starr. Where did he stay? Intercontinental Buckhead in Atlanta, Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles. What were in his bags? A camera, small bottle of baby oil, and lube, cameras every time. What will you be doing? Watching TV, ordering room service, keeping up on sleep. Afterwards, I'll sweep the room for anything left behind. Any damages? Just baby oil. How frequently would Mr. Combs stay at the hotel with Miss Ventura in 2008? They say like once a week at the Hermitage, the London International for several days, the IV drips. They said, did he speak to you about the relationship with Miss Ventura? They said, yes. Miss London was there. Chef Gerard in the back. He called Cassie over here to walk their hand and all of that, go back in the other room, and she did it. What did he say? You bitches wouldn't do that. That's why you don't have a man. What did you say? You MFN right. Did you observe Mr. Combs obtaining drugs? A girlfriend in New York and Los Angeles from one stop. Molly, ecstasy delivered to Puff or to me. Did you ask to get drugs from him? Yes, ecstasy. And in the south of France, he asked me to get cocaine. I said, for who? And why did you ask? I wasn't going to do it, given how my mother died. Sidebar, objection. Diddy people came in with an objection right away. They have a long talk. They said, who did Mr. Combs say the drugs was for? He said, not me. Did you get them? Yes, through the Spanish security guard. He also got a prescription jug in my name. They were a toiletry bag I carried or security would carry. What about bulk cash? Yes, 100,000 euro coming back from Europe. Where did he get it? Club bookings from Europe. He'll keep it, then give it to security, then into his bedroom personal safe. Did you see any violence? Fighting? Was Mr. Combs violent to you? Yes. At Star Island, he told me you are not to leave his house. Pharrell Williams was brought in by boat. I returned Mr. Walker to Palm Island. He called and said, where the F are you? You can't have a life. One time I asked the chef if there any turkey bacon. She said, no effing turkey bacon. I said, I hate it here. The chef told me Mr. Combs, and he pushed me again and again. What did he say? He said, if you hate it here, get the F out of here. Did you leave your employment? I did. But you returned as global brand director. Why? He was impressed by what I did in the job. I left for a couple of albums. He said you wouldn't have to work directly for me. She said, what were you doing for Miss Ventura? Managing her image, maximizing the optics for her. For Sean Combs, he had a final approval on everything. In LA, where did you live? A gated community. We had followed Kim Porter there. The government says, what was Miss Ventura doing? And then Capricorn Clark said, well, in New York City on the West End, she would come to LA and stay with him or with me or in a hotel. Who else was singing Mrs. Ventura? Scott Miss Cuddy, known as Kid Cudi. How did you learn about that? She brought him to my apartment. What did he say? She texted me that they were going to this public place in LA. I told her it was a bad idea and to delete the text. Why? If Mr. Combs learns about Kid Cudi, that, Mr. Combs paid for my phone and her phone. I took Cassie to Best Buy to get her a burner phone. When did Mr. Combs return to town? Not long after. He took Cassie to a hotel, the Capriani, and then December 22, 2011, between 5:30 and 6 o'clock a.m., there was a banging at the door. What did you see through the peephole? A furious Puffy. Objection. They asked another question. They was like, ask another question, Miss Steiner. What was his movement? Pacing and something in his hand. Did you open the door? I did. What was he wearing? Button down, sweater, torn pants, and he was holding a gun. And he came into my apartment and said, why didn't you tell me? Who is Scott? I said, I don't know any Scott. What did he say? We're going to kill this N-word. Where was the gun? In his hand. I said, I didn't want to go. He said, I don't give a F. What you want? Get dressed. What concerns did you have? He'd never come to my house. Did you try to escape? No, I got dressed. Who joined in? Ruben in the Black Escalade executive class. Where was Ruben? Driver's seat. I got in the back seat, right-hand side. Mr. Combs was on the left, next to me. Usually, he would have sat in the front. Gun was in his lap. How does it take a drive from your home to get to Kid Cudi's house in the Hollywood Hills? If you push it, 10 to 20 minutes. What did Mr. Combs and Ruben do at Cudi's house? They went in. Could you see in? Yes. What did you do? I called Cassie on her burner. I said, Cassie, where the F? I told Puff was at Cudi's house. Then I changed her number in my phone to my best friend, Stormy. What did you hear on the phone? That Scott was at Cassie's. When Mr. Combs came back, he took my phone and called the last number. Then I saw Cudi driving up. Mr. Combs saw my face and said, that's that N-word right there. We drove off and saw the police driving the other way towards Cudi. Puff was pulling himself together. We stopped at the Key Club and he told me to call Cassie. What did you tell Cassie? That he had me and wouldn't let me go. How did Miss Ventura respond? She said, okay, come get me. She was calm. Who drove you home? Ruben. What did Mr. Combs then tell you to convince Cudi not to say that and that he had been in his house? I picked up Cassie. Where did you go? We went to Cudi's to try to convince him not to file a police report. What did you tell them? That Puff came into the house with a gun. What did you tell them? He said, if I tell on him, he'll hurt us all. What was Kid Cudi's reaction? Mind blown. Objection. They was like, sustain. What happened at the house? He was kicking Cassie again and again. How was Cassie? In the fetal position. Mr. Combs kicking her all the way to the street. She was crying silently. Where was he kicking her? Her back, her backside. Where were you? 5 feet away. So was Ruben. What did Mr. Combs say to you? He said, if you jump in, I'm going to F you up too. What did Ruben do? Nothing. Who did you call? D-Rock. I told him, tell your brother to stop, Puff. He is kicking the ass out of her. Capricorn Clark said, I called Paulie too. I said, take care of it, but Rube did nothing. What's next? Mr. Cone told me to get the F out too. I left on foot. Could you see her getting kicked until I went around the bend? Then who did you call? Regina Ventura. I told her he's kicking the ass out of your daughter. I can't call the police, but you can. Why didn't you call the police? The mission of the day was to get Cuddy. So no calling police. This email is from who? Cassie. She wrote that he would be releasing sex tapes about me and would have someone else hurt me and Kid Cudi. Did you recall if you responded to this? I don't. Did law enforcement call you? The arson investigators. Cudi had given them my name. I hung up on them. I just wanted this over. What did Mr. Combs say to you? He said I should kill you, bees, and I should cut her face. How many times did Mr. Combs threaten you? I say 50 times. D-Rock was there too, just doubling down on whatever Puff said. In the moment, who is Harv Pierre, the president of Bad Boy Records? I told him Puff had kidnapped me. What did Harv say to you? He said that's crazy, but it's going to be okay. I got a termination notice. I was accused on not properly putting in the vacation I was on, properly putting in for her vacation. So she was terminated. But you had put it in, yes, to Harv Pierre. Did you lose benefits? All of them. Health, 401k, my house, my car. What did Mr. Combs say? That I would never work again. That he would make me take her own life. Did you get another job offer? I did, but it fell through. I couldn't get a job. Did you settle with Mr. Combs? In October 2012. They said, objection, can we approach? So they started talking to Capricorn Clark, who got on these gigantic glasses. Like she can't see, like she's old. They said, aside from the settlement, did you get any other pending offers? No. Did you go back to work for them? No one else would hire her. So she said Cassie had a new record deal with Epic. They said, who did you have to get approvals from? Sean Combs. Cassie was taking more drugs. She was still dating Mr. Combs. Yes. In 2023, did you retain any attorney? She said, I was traumatized by Cassie's civil complaint. Her complaint did not reference me. I reached out to Mr. Combs, he said, and said, I want my life back. You kidnapped me. Objection. They was like, overruled. There was a discussion of you working for Mr. Combs again. Yes, as a chief of staff. When did you last speak with Ms. Ventura? 2018. And Kid Cudi? 2012. No further questions. They take a break and the defense comes in. They's like, can I start right now? Ms. Clark, you are under oath. You met in 2024. You had a lawyer, Brian Freeman. Yes. You wanted to come back and forth with Mr. Combs, right? We discussed it, right? Yes. And they said, you saw Mr. Garagos taking notes, right? They said, yes. They said, you said you didn't think Cassie was good for Mr. Combs, right? Why? I thought they were toxic. Tell me when you were in New York. I was in the Bronx. I hated it. In 2002, you met Janine. Then Mr. Combs in 2001, right? Was the World Trade Center thing happening? Then you met Mr. Combs. He wasn't doing drugs, right? He did ecstasy in daddy's house. But it got worse, right? Yes. Then he said, you authorized Mr. Friedman to seek a job for you. It was very procedural, lawyer to lawyer. But you were told you couldn't be given a job in the middle of the investigation. I don't remember that. They said, read this and let me know when you're done. Do you remember saying that you had the biggest crush on Sean Diddy Combs? And they was like, objection under 403. So the judge said, what are you doing? And she was like, state of mind. And that's what Diddy's lawyer said to the judge, state of mind. Said, it's being offered for the truth. And they said, we had a tip on this. So they had a sidebar. They said, you called him Chalk for chocolate, right? I did. You started with Def Jam, Run DMC. And they said, I don't go back that far. I worked with Foxy Brown, Jay-Z, Redline. And they said, how did you come to work for Mr. Combs? She said, I put my resume on Monster after the World Trade Center thing. He said, you'll work for me. And I was like, mate. And he was acting on Broadway and Raising in the Sun. I was impressed. He had a major part. He was the star. I shadowed him on the Vote or Die campaign. My job was to get the t-shirts and the celebrities and into the photo shoots. I call them and say, Puff wanted to come. And they came, they did. How long before the jury thing where things came up missing? It was about 4 months. On the 4th of July, he threw a white party at his home in the Hamptons that year for Vote or Die. When did the jewels missing happen? After July the 4th. The jewels were still on a loan from Jacob the jeweler, who he got the lie detector from. Then Mike B, his stylist, he too had gone to the street level of 1440 to get manicures, but the lie detector test was done the next day. They say, you never told HR. She said, no. She got fired for 3 weeks. They said, well, how did you get unfired? I went back to work on his 35th birthday party to do the celebrity list. And I came back. And they said, from 2004 to 2006, right? She said, not all. The personal assistant, then liaison. I was making $65,000 for Combs and $90,000 at Jive. Where did you come back to Mr. Combs? I had gotten top records for R. Kelly, and Mr. Combs was very impressed. He asked me to come to Sean John Jeans to work with them. Sean John for women's. She said, I think it was really good employee for him. I was a really good employee. They said, he told you were awesome? He did not use that word. You worked hard for him? I did. Others worked hard for him too, right? Not as hard as me. I did learn a lot from Mr. Combs. He broke the glass ceiling for us Black people in the business world. Do you need a minute? Because she started crying. No, it's just complicated. We'll take a break then. First, because she's complicated. So they took everybody out, right? So the government's like, we propose to use communications between Ms. Clark and Mrs. Ventura. We don't see any non-hearsay purpose. And the government says, Diddy lawyer says, there are logistics and photo shoots being discussed. She testified to this on direct. And they saying, look, this direct went more negative than we expected. And they said, this theory is that Mrs. Ventura was not permitted to be creative. Right? And the judge said, in the future, and what you submit overnight, it must be in the docket. Right? In the defense submission over the weekend, they argued that the album cover was relevant. And Shapiro, Combs' lawyer, said yes, Mrs. Ventura is topless with her arms crossed. So the judge said, let's have Miss Clark come back in here. So they let her come back in. So now she's back in. They said, well, did you go to the park? She said, to the Tavern Green. They said, we parked there. And earlier in the day, we ran into Nas. He said, when you say he had Miss Ventura spin, who was there? Let me show you that. This Lorraine Gibson was there. They said, Lorraine Gibson, this Miss Hurton. When did you first meet Cassie Ventura? I met her with Ryan Leslie. They said, why did you not go along with Cassie sometimes? She said in 2008, she got more bravado with being his girlfriend, and it lasted longer. She thought I was being paid to help her. Objection. So it was abstained. She said, what did you see? She went from being a sweet model to a feisty girlfriend. Do you think she was talented? She was talented and very beautiful. She had talent, very beautiful, but was not talented. She was not. He says, I have good taste. Talented to me is Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. Cassie, she was more of a studio musician. She needed things equalized. Did she perform live? A couple of times, not the greatest. Was she a hard worker? At times. When wasn't she a hard worker? She preferred to be with her boyfriend. When we moved to LA and Kim had the twins in 2009, I saw her developing more of her relationship with Puff, Mr. Combs. He supported her? Yes. Was stylish other musicians to make her a star. Did she get more help than others? Yes. Young jock in a group of from Atlanta that developed French Montana. Then they said they ran into Cassie. She said she had a new deal with Epic. They dressed her up like David Bowie. They did a photo shoot at the house. They wrote the mini movie and then shot for the project. They said, what about the official girl? They was like, that was a super cute video. King of Hearts. She was fresh. Puff liked it. Did she have a green wig? Yes. We moved to admit the witness. And they said, well, this is a stealing issue. You don't remember this email? She said, I don't. They said, here in 2012, you are setting up a recording session for Cassie. On this recording session, you have Mario Wayans for the chairman, for Mr. Combs. Yes. When did you learn Cassie was dating Kid Cudi, right? Fall of 2011. I picked her up there. You believe that after Thanksgiving, Mrs. Ventura and Kid Cudi were what? Getting to know.
I'll just go. You're busy.
What?
I'll just go to the movies. You're busy.
I'm going. I'm going in.
It's 4:15.
It's not 4:15. It's 4:05.
Okay.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Now that shouldn't have happened. I apologize. Now, where were we at? Uh, we believe that Miss Ventura and Kid Cudi were right. They were getting to know each other, and they had a burner phone at Best Buy. They said, you can't do this on a Best Buy phone. So they had the burner phones all together, and they grew up in Los Angeles. So Miss Combs said they grew up in a Ultimate or whatever. It was in Russia. And they had Diddy on the phone. And they told him the security had gotten fired. They said, well, what is his name? Some random security guard. They said, well, what did he look like? They said, a black young guy that was 35. And they said, well, what are you doing? He had the gun, right? He was in his hand. He was pointed at you? No. But what did he tell the government that he pointed at you? He said he waved it around. It was more correct. And they said, well, what about the street clothes? It was in his closet. Isn't it true that you went to Mr. Combs to do something stupid? He said, no, I went because he said I didn't care. I didn't want to go. He's a jealous guy, right? He has a bad temper. To the Escalade, did you pass the security guard? The gun? You made him call, right? No. So they said you went to Kid Cudi's door and you couldn't get through it, right? She was not real like paying attention. So she was in her head trying to plan her next step. She said she was praying that Kid Cudi was not in there. Did Cassie have two rooms? Said Cudi took her to one room, she had another room. They said, you're 100% that you called and told them Puff had. Yes, I said it very quickly. See me on the phone. Did you say Laura London was on the phone with you and Cassie and Cudi? No, only the part of the time. I wanted someone to know I was where I was. Where did you tell her? I'm scared of mountain lions. Mountain lions? I don't know if you know the Hollywood Hills Coyotes. What Laura was on the phone and I said I was scared of mountain lions. And Mr. Combs was friends with you for years after this, right? Yes. And he said, well, you saw the Porsche coming uphill, right? Yes. Cuddy was in the black Porsche. He now stops next to us, then speeds off. Then we chase him. Then we loses us and we turn away. They said, and we see the police passing us. And they said, well, did you go pick Cassie up from the house? The 88 was there. And they said, well, Mr. Holmes Combs saw us and then we saw us on the street. They said, you hung up on the fire? I did. When you were on vacation, was it just you? Who else was with you? Rihanna. After that, you were fired. What job did you get? I was hired by Chris Lightly to work for 50 Cent. And they said, here you wrote to Mr. Combs, one day you hope he forgives you. Anyway, be well. Yes, I did. In 2015, February 28th, your grace to be mad at me has surpassed the agreed time. You wrote that. Yes, sir. Please read aloud. I wrote, she was never my friend. She wanted me gone. I realized. Did you think Cassie wanted you gone? Sorry, this is complicated for me. I felt that I was Puff's protector. I felt like I was the one gone. She was still there and things got worse, and I tried to keep things professional as the goal. You thought you could be his protector? It was time to move the ball towards the goal, time to expire. Did he hurt? Did he say that take you back because Cassie wanted it? Yes. I have no parents. My son is autistic. My stakes are higher. How much more? They said, can we sidebar? So then they went to a few more minutes saying that Cassie did great work to a certain degree, and then it canceled. Now, I have to leave. So let's go.
I was gonna let you work because we
So it's very interesting. So what you're getting is so far, the case is I'm in the car. I have to leave with mom. I have to leave with mom. So never hit the end. So we will continue this. But so far, they got her to say that she really was a friend of Puff. She never says Puffy throws the fireball into the car. So we're gonna have to double back and tackle this on later on tonight. So this will be part one. I thought I could finish it within an hour, which I would have if mom didn't get involved. But definitely I want to say thank y'all for the support, tuning in, hitting the like button. Don't forget, you might not get a notification for the second one because they'll be on to it by then. But we'll give you the full testimony, so therefore you can know what's what. All right? So see y'all after the next game.